Hello and welcome to SideQuest episode number 87, the We Hunt Mons edition.
Right. We were all talking before the show, and we decided out of respect for Eric's not being able to come, we were going to wait to talk about Monster Hunter till next week.
It's a moratorium.
I know it was, so I know that you guys were really excited to hear about Monster Hunter, but, out of respect to Eric's, it is his birthday.
That's true.
Eric's birthday.
And because we respect Eric's, we're going to wait till next week when he's here.
It was his birthday wish that we don't talk about it.
That's right.
Well, you know what, Eric's? We're changing. We're talking about it, man. You could have a great birthday.
Eric's has already played. He's played for like 90 hours, okay? We're still fresh and new and excited.
Yeah.
That's true. He has been playing for quite a while. He must have been killing him last week, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like not talking about it.
Seriously, right?
True. He's just sitting there like, oh, I wish I could talk about it.
I wish I could talk about this awesome game that I'm playing.
Briar, so we just jump right into it?
Well, did you end up playing it, Briar? Because you were on the fence of whether or not you were gonna dig in.
Yeah, I did get a chance to play it. I ended up getting I really wanted to get the deluxe edition, but I just couldn't find it. I could have ordered it and had it here by Tuesday or Wednesday. But I didn't want to wait that long. I wanted to play it. And I was looking at what the digital or the deluxe edition actually offers you, and it wasn't that much. So I was just like, screw it. I'm just gonna get the regular version. I did that, order at Best Buy and then go pick it up and they bring it to your car kind of thing, which I fucking love, and I hope they don't get rid of after the pandemic. I just love being able to drive up, tell them you're there, and they just bring your shit out to you. It's awesome.
Things that you've enjoyed during the pandemic.
Yes, there are certain things, right?
There are certain
that also
things.
works at a lot of restaurants. Like you can just a lot of restaurants that didn't even do takeout before. Now you can just call them up, put your order in, they tell you when to show up, and you park in a certain spot, and then you text them the spot you're in. Oh my God, I love that. It's the best.
That's been nice.
Yep. They still fuck up my order every time though, so I guess, whatever.
I always miss a drink. It's always 50-50 on the drink.
They always forget that.
Yeah, that's true. The drinks are dangerous. Yeah. Did you guys happen to see that I got my Monster Hunter copy for the Switch, and it came along with, I didn't even know this when I ordered it, but it came along with a free steelbook case. And I think that's the third or fourth one I've gotten from Best Buy. They seem to just put it into pre-orders a lot. But I don't actually I don't know. I don't collect steelbooks, and since it doesn't have a copy of the game in it, I don't know that it's all that collectible. So I don't even know if I should hold on to these things, or I should just ask him to hold on to it, or tell the salesman to keep it. I don't even know what to do with this thing, because it doesn't match the rest of the Switch games. Because all Switch games, the spines are red.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that looks cool on the shelf, right? Steel case throws it off. It's black or green or white or whatever. Yeah. So I don't even know what to do with them.
We got 3 of them now? Start a new collection.
I got a bunch of them.
New
collection of empty steel cases.
Yeah, new shelf with all steel cases on it.
Sell it. Chat says, how much would people pay for a steel case with nothing in it?
$5.
It doesn't even have a manual or anything in it.
I don't know. It's funny.
It's just I'm
sure that would be collectible at some point in the future. When the Switch has moved on to
but trying to predict what's going to become collectible in the future ends up with you having crates of Beady Babies in your basement.
Right. Storage units full of stuff.
Yeah,
it's true.
I have the tendency to be a hoarder. I feel like that's in my bones. And I try and fight that tendency. I try and throw stuff out as much as possible.
Yeah.
But it's so easy to just give into it,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I honestly, that's why I go with digital, because I'm not into that collecting side of stuff. I understand the appeal.
Not at all.
But with digital, it's so convenient. I much prefer the convenience of.
Not a collector, says the guy with $100,000 worth of audio equipment.
That's different.
That's my job, okay? I'm doing my job.
Those have specific uses. Maybe don't get used all the time, but when I do. So, Monster Hunter. It's pretty great.
So, Monster Hunter.
All right, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I played the demo. I really like the demo. I played the new game. I booted it up and I was like, okay, let me get through all the story stuff, because even though I like the aesthetic of the new world, like the kind of like elfish Japanese kind of theme going on, I was like, I don't care what any of these people have to say. I just want to start fighting monsters, right? Like that's I want to do what it says on the tin. My new Steelbook collectible, which is now for sale on eBay for you. You can buy it now for $200. I just wanted to get through that as fast as I could. It was cute. You know, that stuff is always cute. Once I got into the Monster Hunter stuff, I was like, this is more Monster Hunter World, but on Switch.
Yeah.
Are you guys feeling that? Like,
good thing for you or bad thing?
I think it's a good thing. I don't know. Like, I haven't put 100 hours into it like I did for the original yet.
True.
But
yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm having fun sitting on the couch. Like, I was sitting on the couch watching some movies and monster hunting. I really like how I can pause it.
You can pause, yeah.
Yeah,
which is
amazing.
important on a mobile
handheld.
Yeah, and a handheld, because people on the train getting hunting, got to get off the train. So yeah, I'm glad they put that in there.
Yeah.
With the whole world thing, like some of the weapons perform, I guess, more similarly to world than previous Monster Hunters, but I am playing bow completely differently, pretty much.
Really?
Yeah. Because when you get the switch skills later on, someone I could be in the same group as someone using the bow, and we could be playing it two completely different ways. And I think there is a way to play it like almost identical to world, but with the switch skills, you can play it completely differently.
Yeah, that's really cool.
The wire bug I use the wire bug for everything. I use it to get closer to the monster, and I don't ever whip my weapon out now. I just go into the monster and do an attack to then get my weapon out. I use
like a combo after the wire bug.
Yeah.
Like, so you're flying through the air. The wire bug is like that kind of whip thing that you can kind of jettison yourself forward. And then while you're in the air, you can pull out your weapon and
you do like a dive attack or something, whatever your aerial attack is. So I go in with the wire bugs and do that, and then every time I get like knocked down, I'm using the wire bug to get out of there.
Really?
I'm using switch skills.
Can you explain that real quick?
Wire bug
the getting out of it when you're knocked down.
Yeah, so the control is different to what you use when you're using your wire bug skills when you're fighting, which is maybe why a lot of people miss out on it. But you, Tobias, I don't know. He's just a part of the podcast now. It's just the thing. So when you get knocked down, you have the option, if you have a wire bug charge, to do an ability where you just immediately get out of it. So you don't have to do the whole animation of falling down and getting back up.
Wow.
You just zip out of there immediately. So
That's
it's
huge.
Left trigger L2. I'm not using the Z's. The Z's confuse me. You tell me to press a Z and I'm like, where's the Z? What's a Z?
It's like a holdover from like the Nintendo 64 controller.
Yeah, it is confusing.
Yeah. You press L2 and then you press the most bottom button. I use my Scuf controller, so I don't even know what it is on a
B. Pretty sure
Switch controller anymore.
Yep.
B.
Yeah.
It is B. Yeah, you press those together and it will get you out of it immediately.
But you have to do it.
We need to
before
sign
you hit
a
the ground?
petition.
No, you can do it at any point during the recovery period of the getting knocked over.
Huh.
So that could be
huge.
like in the air. It could be when you hit the ground. It could be when you're like standing up. You can do it at any point. Because I've been without a wire bug charge before, and I've been knocked down. So normally I'd use it right away and just peace out as fast as possible. But it was almost charged. So I was able to hit the button to get out of there as I was standing up and recovering.
Very
and that's
cool.
just a game changer. That has saved my life so many times.
Yeah, I didn't know you could do that. That's great.
It also
Here's the
allows you
pro
to play a bit more aggressively, because you're like, if I get knocked down, I can just get out, which is really nice. Completely.
The wire bug seems, at least I think I put like 6 hours into the game. So it's like, that's basically like getting through the tutorial. If even that, really.
Yeah.
But the wire bug seems at first to be the biggest difference between this and World. Like
it's a big difference.
It changes the mobility. Well, that and having
No more
the
clutch
mount
claw.
always available to you, the dog always available to you, is really nice too, because you can just zip around the map on the back of that thing, and then you
it's
can
so
jump
good.
off of his back and do like a in-air attack too, which is kind of fun.
That's what I do when I'm chasing the monsters a lot of the time. Is I'll run after
Yeah.
them with the dog, jump off, do an attack, and then start again.
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
much what I've been doing with the horn. Yeah, I think the wire bug is a big change. Like between the
It
Palamute
is big.
and the wire bug, the mobility on the maps, the ability to just like traverse landscapes. Like in
Mhm.
World, you had like set areas, and you'd look at something and be like, all right, I can't go there because clearly there's a wall or something that's
There's
not
no vine for me to
yeah,
climb.
there's no vine or there's no the bugs that you would actually hook onto that were kind of like the wire bugs in World.
Yeah.
And this just like throws all that out the window and says, if there's a vine, your dog can run up it now. Also,
Mhm.
you can do all your sharpening, all your item management, and all that while you're on your dog going to your destination, which is a game
That's
changer
dope.
for pacing, you know?
Amazing.
And then you look up in the sky, or you look up at like a mountain area, and you're like, oh yeah, I can go up there. I'll just wire bug up there. And then like
and then wall run.
yeah, wire bug, wall run, wire bug again. It's a game changer for how it feels. Like it's
Yeah.
awesome.
It
I
really
like
does,
it.
yeah. It's changed it's with this Monster Hunter playing it more and more, it feels like they've just really dialed in on giving you more choice of how to approach the game, how to traverse the maps. They want you to be fast. They want you to be always in the action and not. It almost feels like they don't want you to be scared of the monster and playing very carefully. Like they just want you zipping all over the place and doing crazy cool moves.
Yeah.
Which has made the combat for me so fun. And the fact that you can unlock 3 new skills for your weapon as you go along the story is also one of my favorite things. I know there've been things like this in older Monster Hunters, but obviously it wasn't in World. But as you're going through the story and you unlock a new skill that completely changes the way that you play with a weapon, it's crazy. And you can switch those anytime. So you can essentially be having very like 3 different play styles of a weapon.
Yeah, the options for combat is pretty overwhelming when you stop and think about that stuff. Like, I want to try out different weapons and try out those different switch skills. And you know, there's what, like 10 or 12 different weapons, 16 weapons. There's a lot of weapons.
14.
14 weapons
with 3 skills.
3 switch skills total. Like that's a lot of possibility.
I got a lot of Eric's YouTube videos to be watching.
A lot of Eric's YouTube videos. I've been maining hunting horn with this, and the default skill for hunting horn basically makes it so it's way more easy and approachable to use a hunting horn, and it's fantastic and awesome. Like you're just basically whacking with like a hammer that's also playing music at the same time. So that's been really cool to see, and yeah, just main that because it's been fun. I was going to main the greatsword, but they changed it a bit, or just slight changes that made it feel a little bit different to me from World. So I gravitated away from that. But once I get further and more into high rank stuff, I plan on exploring greatsword and some other weapons and all that, different switch skills and all that.
I gotta say the bow. So started out bow. I made the bow. Started out. And I was doing like 2 damage. And I'm like, all right, that's pretty low. So we made a whole meme of like taking down monsters 12 damage at a time until they feel bad for me and decide to die. But as you get later on, the bow is insane. The changes they've made to the bow are absurd. So in World, the way that the bow worked is it was the same arrow. No matter what. It was the same arrow. It performed the same way. You could choose to do a spread shot. You could choose to do a dragon piercer, which would go all the way through the monster. But the arrows themselves remain the same. Whereas in Rise, there's like different charges on a bow. So as you're pulling it back, it's like 1 charge, 2 charge, 3 charges. And each charge does a different damage type. So you can have pierce, so it will always just go right through the monster. It can be spread, so you can just shoot normally and it will spread across. And then they also have rapid, which makes you shoot faster. So each bow has these different like arrow types. Which has completely changed what you're looking for in a bow as well. Because you're like, oh, well, Pierce has been awesome. So I want Pierce because that's how I like to play the game.
That's really cool. You said it's connected to the charge time?
Yeah, it's connected to the charge. So bow, it's supposed to just get more powerful as it goes higher in charge. And you can keep the final charge by dodging. So that's why you see people dodging all the time.
Yeah.
So if you get a bow and you're like, oh, this has pierce, it will be pierce, spread, spread, pierce. So you know that on the first and the final one, it's going to pierce, and then in the middle, it's going to do spread. And you can choose to either keep up that charge to keep doing the pierce, or you can let it go back down to get back to the spread arrow.
That's
so
really
it just
cool.
completely changes the way that the bow is. And then I got a move, which was a switch skill for my wire bug, where you shoot up in the air, you shoot 3 arrows down at the target, and then you can do a plunging attack to dive on them. And that does KO damage. So the bow now
Nice.
has access to like severing damage, KO damage, just piercing damage. It kind of does everything, and it's a little nuts with the mobility now.
That is really cool.
It's so fun.
Yeah, you see, this is one of these things where I'm like, okay, I can't wait to dive into
Yeah.
some bow activity and see how I like it. And then what does the switch skill do with the change?
So there's a switch skill. The first one you get changes your dodge. Instead of it doing just like a regular dodge, it's a shorter dodge, but you do a little spin and attack with your arrow on the spin. So if you're
Whoa.
next to the monster and you're dodging, you're just doing damage, you're shooting, you dodge, you're doing damage in the dodge, you shoot, and it's just a constant slashing at them, which does a lot of the time more damage than your arrows. So
Really?
it seems to have a lot of iframes. So that's great.
That's cool.
That first skill, I was like, oh, I am now playing in melee range with the bow, which is very different to what you'd normally do.
Yeah, changes things up. Have you gotten the final switch skill?
I haven't gotten the final one. I've gotten 2, which is the dodge, and then the other one was a wire bug one where you shoot in the air and rain down bullets.
Cool.
Well, arrows.
I don't know how you get the final one, if it's like a high rank quest or something.
Maybe. I'm
Yeah.
excited for whatever the hell that is.
Yeah, there's obviously tons to do in the game. Like Briar said, I think the first like 6 to 10 hours is basically tutorial that rolls credits on low rank or the story mode, and then you have a lot more story mode stuff to do along with side quests. And then how do you guys feel about the hub world versus the village for the questing? Because that's very different. That's very different from world, right?
Yeah, so I might be incorrect on this, but at least from my experience of doing hub stuff compared to village stuff, it feels like you get more materials when you do the hub hunt.
Okay.
Don't know if that's correct. It feels like it, but the hub is just, it's made so for people who don't know the difference, there's village quests and there's hub quests. The village quests are just your normal story stuff, and it's difficulty set for 1 person. But the hub is specifically made for people to group up and take on hunts. So just as a baseline, hub hunts are more difficult than village ones. And you can obviously still do them solo. You can defeat things solo. It's just a little bit more difficult.
More HP.
And that's really a difference. I think they hit harder too.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting how, like, because in World, just about everything was baked in co-op. You know, there was a few things where you had to do solo, like go discover some monster tracks or something like that. But like usually everything was open to a full squad. And this is it's separated that way, and it makes sense because you're not always going to be playing with a squad on the Switch, right?
Right.
Like sometimes a lot of times you're going to be doing solo hunts because you're like doing something real quick.
You might be offline on a plane.
Yeah. Pausing it, hopping out the car, going somewhere else, and then, jumping back in. So it makes sense to have that split up. So I haven't done any multiplayer yet, so I'm not sure how it's going to feel. Like Memes is playing it too, and I'm excited to be in the same room and be like, hey, let's hunt a monster together right now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm excited to do that.
What do you guys think about it actually being on the Switch? Like performance wise, how's it look? How's it feel? How's it play?
Performance wise, my frames have been just solid across the board. Of course, when I was playing World, I was also playing in 30 FPS, so it's not like a drastic difference to my
Debatable.
30 FPS World experience. Well, at least for me, like my performance there might have been one time where I was like in water and there were things flying around and I was fighting a monster and there were explosions where it got a little dicey. But for the most part, the vast majority of the game, the frame rate has been completely fine for me. And the way that it looks, of course, it's not as crisp as like being on a different console or a PC, but it doesn't bother me at all when I'm playing it. And I think it still looks great. The armor still looks great. The weapons still look great. Like that the visuals of it don't make me go, oh man, I wish I could see that bow on a PC.
Yeah, the fighting
It looks
is satisfying.
surprisingly good.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of shocking. Like it's like I can't believe this is on the Switch. Sometimes, like you can see, obviously it doesn't look as good as World, but it looks good and it
does.
runs pretty well too. I've been playing mainly on portable mode, so it's also that gives it the benefit of running at 720p as opposed to 1080p. You know, and I've been playing on that couch for quite a while and just like having a good time, and it looks good, and I'm really impressed with it.
It's using the RE engine, and I think the RE engine is made of magic because of what it's
It
able
is.
to do. I know the load times and all that, and like the performance, the stability. I'm like, this is crazy. Why is Capcom engine wizards?
Yeah,
seriously,
man.
the engine
After
is
a long, it's funny. Capcom's like kind of history is because they were like a premier game maker in the 90s for like the NES and the Super Nintendo, but then in like the 3D era, they kind of fell back, as did a lot of Japanese developers. But man, Capcom has come back.
They're killing it.
With just the thunder in the last few years with the Resident Evil games, with Monster Hunter World, like so many like really fantastic games running really fantastic engines and looking just marvelous.
Yeah, it's impressive. And I agree. Like the Switch, it's definitely not as detailed and vibrant as World on consoles, but it's not that far off. And it looks really good.
No.
And yeah, I'm constantly surprised. I do think even in docked mode, I don't think it's 1080p because you can still see a lot of pixelization. So I think it's like across the board lowered resolution, 720 or something like that.
Probably doing like dynamic resolution based on frame rates.
Yep, could be doing that for sure. But overall, as a Switch game, I think it's phenomenal. Like really awesome to be able to have this in a handheld mode and then console mode. It's a great experience. I will say the Joy-Cons, I'm 50-50 on using the Joy-Cons for doing any actual serious
Joy-Cons.
As soon as I learned that I could use my Scuf controller and just play like I do in World, I was
How do you do that? Do you have an adapter?
I do. I have an adapter.
Is it a Brook converter?
It's this.
Oh, it's a 8-bit do converter.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And you just stick it into the dock, and then you can use literally any controller you want.
Any Bluetooth controller,
as long as it has Bluetooth. Yep.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's nice. Those aren't expensive either. They're like what, $15-$20?
Yeah, super cheap.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if you like buy a Switch and you're like, I don't want to use the Joy-Cons for Monster Hunter, it's going to be much cheaper and probably easier for you to get one of those and just pay the $20 and use your regular controller.
Yeah, so, I mean the Switch Pro controller is expensive, right? It's like $70.
Yeah, $70. That's what I'm using, the Switch Pro controller, and it feels good though. Like the Switch Pro controller it's a nice.
Yeah,
controller.
I like the Pro controller.
It doesn't have paddles though, just like what you're saying, Watts. Like you
doesn't
can't
have paddles.
No. Yeah, and the paddle experience is definitely really usable in this game. Being able to dodge with the fact that
there's a lot of buttons. Like
there are a lot of buttons.
Finger twisting games where it takes a while to like instinctively get to know those buttons because you use all of them.
You do,
and contextually, the buttons change too.
Yep. Yeah, it gets you in trouble sometimes.
Yeah, it does.
But I will say though, the Joy-Cons are like it's like a last option. It's like at least I have the Joy-Cons.
The Split Pad Pro I've been using handheld mode and it works fine. Like you can't use them remotely, so they don't work wirelessly, but it feels like a full size controller with the Switch in handheld mode, and it's really been a nice experience sitting on the couch.
I might have to try. That.
Yeah, I think
I've been
I'm gonna
watching.
look into
they
that.
have a Monster Hunter one now too, like a themed Monster Hunter Split Pad Pro.
That's cool.
I'm gonna get that.
It's really cool. Nice.
Yeah,
I think it's out of stock everywhere, but I've been trying to get one. Yeah, just like everything else.
Yeah. But like you were saying, the visceral experience of hunting monsters and using the skills, the wire bug, and all that stuff on the Switch, I don't feel any like graphical degradation. Like like you said, I'm not missing anything from the experience with it being on Switch hardware. If anything, it's like fantastic. It feels like a awesome Monster Hunter game with everything that's going on right there.
Yeah, I think
And
a
you
lot of
take it with you,
people
portable.
were
Yeah.
like concerned that it's on the Switch, so it's not a full Monster Hunter game. It's like, no, it's a full Monster Hunter game, and this one actually Rise launched with more vanilla monsters than World did. So like you have more things to hunt. It's a full game, and
Yeah.
the load times. I have to emphasize them because my
Yeah.
God, in World, I was waiting for
It would
years to
take
get
forever
into
in
a thing
World,
like
right?
and this is just you go in a door, boom, you're in
Yeah.
there. You go into a hunt, you're there. And even like when you're preparing for the hunt, right? There's no waiting, there's no preparation. It's just as soon as you're ready, you press the button. You can accept the quest and leave right away.
God, I forgot about that. Think about everybody like waiting for them to queue up because they'd have to be like, oh, it's loading, so you gotta wait. Go run around.
I
the
forgot
hub.
about that too. I switched to PC with World at some point, and I never looked back because the loading times were so much faster, and the graphic, playing at 60 plus FPS in that game was a huge difference.
Nice.
Really. But I didn't put nearly as much time into World as you guys did, which actually makes me think, like, let's say you know an imaginary person who tried out World, didn't love it. Is there enough here to take a second look at? Or if you didn't like World, then you probably won't like this one either.
I think so, actually, because I think a lot of people who get into Monster Hunter, they find that like a lot of the weapons are slow, they're a little cumbersome. You're like chasing after the monster, especially if it's a fast monster. You're constantly just trying to get to the monster. And the wire bug fixes a lot of that because you can be just as fast and keep up with the monster. So from what I've heard with people who are like, oh, it's just kind of slow and I feel like I'm always chasing things, if that's kind of a reason why you didn't like World because you found it cumbersome and you couldn't, it just felt a little awkward, then I think that Rise does a really good job at fixing that. Ultimately, like if you don't like the loop of Monster Hunter, which is killing monsters, making cool stuff, killing harder monsters, making more stuff,
more cool stuff,
then you're not gonna like it because that is Monster Hunter. Like that's the game. But if you're someone who likes loot and crafting things and making builds and putting stuff together, and you like, honestly, this gameplay is very fast and fluid and lots of movement, then I think you will end up loving it because they've nailed that loop.
Yeah, the loop is 100% nailed in this, and well, I mean on the franchise, but like, yeah, it's definitely, it does feel slightly more faster or slightly more paced in comparison to World, and that's definitely a good thing for people who might have been turned off a bit from World. However, if you were inundated with the tutorial information, the overwhelmingness of World about how there's so many systems, that's 100% in Rise as well.
Yes.
There is lots and lots and lots.
The first part of the game, you're just stopping constantly to be like, hold on, let me teach you about this thing.
How about a 4-page tutorial that you got to read through?
It's very front loaded with information. You don't have to know all of it, and you don't have to like perfect all of it. You can always go back and read stuff if you're like, oh, I actually missed that tutorial because I just skipped it. But it definitely does front load you with tutorials and explanations and
Yeah, a little too much in my opinion. Like it gets like I've very much started just skipping all of it. And I'll figure this out later because I just wanted to play the game. I just wanted to play some Monster Hunter. And it starts pretty damn slow. I'd say the first 2 hours are pretty tedious.
Well, it's information heavy. Anytime things are information heavy, your brain's like, how important is this?
Yeah. I mean, you don't go out and fight a monster for the first 2 hours, right?
I felt like I did sooner, but I don't know. Maybe I skipped some of the tutorial stuff more. The good news is if you played World, pretty much all that transfers over. Like a lot of the same systems are in it, and you can be like, okay, the Argus, I got it. They're going to be doing some stuff. And also, if you do skip something or like decide to completely ignore it, it's not a game breaker because you can basically just focus on a couple things in the game and be successful. It's just the additional things just help you be more efficient. That's really what it is.
It's really what it is. Like all the items that you can take, you don't need to take any items with you, really, except for healing stuff. You don't need any of that stuff to buff your damage and buff your defense and all of that. But those things just make you more efficient, like you said. So you don't need to know what everything does. You don't need to know what every toad on the map does when you pick it up and throw it. I do also, like that, though. I do like that.
You do. It does teach you stuff in game pretty well as well by just kind of like oh, you pick this thing up, and then you can look it up. It's got a really detailed, like kind of like encyclopedia, and like you can go back and look up move lists, like because that's all still in there. Like once you delete it off your screen, it's not gone forever. You can like, look up all that stuff.
Yeah, so that's one good thing is if you're not like you don't like being just thrown with tutorials over and over, you can just skip all of it and go, I'll go back to it later. I want to just experience the game. Because I think actually a lot of it, besides the systems, you know, like if you've never played the Argosy and crafting stuff, you probably want to read that. But just playing the game will teach you a lot about traversal and, you know, wyvern riding. Like you'll learn all of that just by playing the game.
Yep. Yeah.
I was really confused right off the bat because there was a quest where I had to find, I can't remember, some like fire bug or fire flower or something. And they marked them on the map. Like it showed it exactly where you had to go. So I was like, all right, I'm here. And I'm like walking around this like pillar. I'm like, you know, in Monster Hunter World, that pillar would have been inaccessible, right? There's no way I could have gotten up there. And I kind of was like forgetting that I could like use my wire bug plus wall run to like kind of get up this thing. So like in that way, it will teach you like you know you have to get there. There must be a way to do it. So you know.
Well, and that's a big change from World as well. When there was things you had to do in World, you'd have the fireflies that would guide you with the path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those are gone now. Like is there an arrow? Did they take the arrow out? Wasn't there an arrow in the demo?
Arrow. There was an arrow in the demo. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. There was an arrow.
Yeah, they completely got rid of the arrow. Yeah.
There's no arrow. Yeah. It's just now that all the monsters are just on your map. If you haven't fought it before, it'll be a question mark.
Yeah.
But if you have it, it's just there and you can just go there.
It has like a crosshair over the one that you're targeting too in your quest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured that out too late.
3 monsters later.
Fought the wrong monster. Failed the mission.
3 monsters later, this ecosystem is plummeting.
What is going on here? How many times do I gotta kill this thing?
Also, if you are concerned about story stuff from World to Rise, like should you play World first before you play Rise or anything like that, it doesn't matter whatsoever. Each Monster Hunter is its own entry into the franchise, being its own world of monsters to hunt and all that. So you don't.
How's the story so far?
I don't think I really paid attention that much.
It's the usual stuff, you know. It's like, oh, there's a monster. He's super mean and making things bad. You must go kill monsters. It's like
there's the rampage.
That's the story, really.
What was it called in World?
It's
The Quickening. No, wait, that was Highlander.
I almost feel like it was called the Rampage as well, or something.
I can't remember.
It was something like the Rampage, you know.
It's just the rampage is coming. He's super angry. You gotta go kill the things. Like the story, it's very much so just there to
Calamity. Yeah,
the calamity.
Calamity. It makes me think of Zelda every time they say it.
Yeah.
It's just that the story's there to like facilitate you learning about the monsters and taking you through like a group of monsters.
I might be overstepping here,
basically, yeah.
But does anybody really play Monster Hunter for the story?
No,
I liked the story in World. I thought it was good enough. It hooked me right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Enough that I wanted to see what the resolution was going to be. I don't know. I liked it. I didn't come to Monster Hunter for the story, but I did enjoy that it was there.
You know, now that I think about it, World definitely had more of a fleshed out tone. Maybe that's why it was like more marketed towards Western. Or had like marketing stuff for Western story type of stuff. So it was this kind of like backdrop that they had to fill out. And Rise definitely feels less. It's like, there's go eat your bunny dingo and kill some monsters.
I will say that although the story is maybe not anything groundbreaking, all of the characters are always really good in these games. They always say super funny things. They're very punny. I can see where Eric gets all of his dad jokes from because the game is just full of dad jokes.
Yes.
It's full of it.
Very much.
I love the cats calling people meowcenaries.
Yep.
All that stuff. The charm that they have to the characters in the world is there.
Yeah. It's fun to be in.
It's very charming. It's very lighthearted.
It is. Yeah.
It feels very Japanese.
And so interestingly, you can tell how good World did in terms of sales for Rise because Rise has sold 4 million so far.
Wow.
And
That's
when
insane.
isn't that insane?
Just over the weekend. Wow.
That's
4
crazy.
million.
What was
And
the
when-
total of world? It was like 16 million
So
total. wasn't it?
Monster Hunter, when it first came out for Xbox and PS4, it sold 5 million. So only 1 million more for 2 consoles,
Yeah. Wow.
which is pretty crazy.
That is
Yeah.
wild.
So
Hmm.
4 million. So it just shows that people, they played World and they were like, well, I'm buying Rise because I'm a Monster Hunter fan now. If you like Monster Hunter, if you get to the point where you are just a Monster Hunter fan, every game that comes out you're gonna like because the loop's the same.
Yeah, it's a fun experience.
Yeah,
it's been getting better over time. I did play some of the 3DS games. I don't go as far as back as like the PSP or the PlayStation versions, but I did play some of the 3DS ones, and the game is way better than it used to be, right? It's like it's more playable. There's less loading. You don't have to load between zones in an area. You just you ride your Palamute between them. Like it's way more fun to chase a monster around.
Mm-hmm.
There's less like stupid stuff. Like you don't have to tag them with a paintball so you can track them. Otherwise, you just completely fucking lose them and spend the next half hour wandering around looking for the monster. There's so much that's like
it's
way
much
nicer.
more friendly. Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot more friendly.
Not to say that those 3DS games were bad. I thought they were pretty good. I never stuck with them for as long as I did for World, though.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you played and enjoyed World, like even for like 60 hours, I think this is a no brainer.
Yeah,
Like, this is
definitely
more of that with some nice little tweaks, like the what is it called? The glide. What is it called? Wirebug. Thank you. Like that's a really fun thing. The weapons. Some of the weapons have changed enough that you have to learn a little bit, which I think it's important because that part of your brain, like the learning part of your brain, to me needs to be engaged to make things fun.
Yeah.
I think. I think it's a slam dunk. This one,
it's
like
so good.
Yeah.
I'll say that gameplay wise, obviously I can't talk about end game or anything. I'm not there yet, but gameplay wise, I enjoy this more than World because I'm just zipping and zooming, and all of the moves look incredibly cool.
You're a notable hater of World too.
yeah, hate it. Obviously, very off. It's great. This game is all the monsters are really good too. We want to talk about monsters. Hey, monsters are fun. So I
like the
looked up
bunny.
I
want to wear the bunny.
I called him Buddy Briar. As soon as I saw it, I was like, "Oh, it's Briar."
You son of a bitch!
We call him Buddy. I was fighting a different monster, and I saw the buddy just like sliding down the hill on his belly, and I was like, "There goes Briar sliding down the hill on his belly again."
I mean, would you not do that move, Briar? Be honest, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
We did find a monster. I don't think you fought him yet, Tefty, but we are now calling him Tefty because he has a beard.
Really
nice.
Kind of.
The monsters can have beards and our hunters can't.
It's a kind of
Thanks
beard.
a lot, Capcom.
It's a beard you don't want. But it's not a beard you would like.
Beard you don't want.
I can't imagine such a beard.
Yeah, I'm having a tough time picturing this.
This is a chin strap.
The new monsters that they've added, so the ones that aren't returning. So of course we've got like Anjanath, we've got Tobi Kadashi, we've got we've got a lot of returning ones, of course, and from previous games. But the new ones are so good.
Mm-hmm.
Like I looked up the list of all the new ones because obviously I'm not going to remember what's been in every game. That's impossible.
Yeah.
And man, they are all incredibly fun. I think so far, I haven't fought every monster, but so far one of the new ones, Gos Horag, he is like my favorite fight so far.
Cool.
He's awesome.
Yeah, I haven't fought them all yet, so
No.
I really enjoyed Magnamalo. That was cool. It was a tough fight.
Mm-hmm. I did him on the hub first, Tefty. That's why I didn't get the cutscene.
I said when you said you didn't see the cutscene, I was like, did you do it in the hub?
I did. Sure. I did the harder one first because I'm smart.
That was the only monster that I actually had to level up. I got carded and then failed because he was basically like two-shot me with a couple moves. And so I had to.
Well, now you know about that wire bug zip out of recovery.
Yeah. That might have helped, but I was still just getting like stomped by that guy. Like every hit was taking off almost half health.
How's the difficulty? I'm so early in, I can't even comment on it.
For me, as
about the same as World, harder, easier.
I felt like it's been easier with the horn in the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think again, it's low rank. I haven't done a lot of high rank yet.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, low rank in world was easy for me. Like I fought Nergigante, people were like, oh, Nergigante. I'm like, well, he's a little intense, but he's not difficult.
But I remember a lot of people struggling with Anjanath. That was like
They
the first
did.
wall.
But I think when you start fighting the like very fast monsters in this game, I think people are going to struggle with those as well because they're relentless. They just chase you down. I was trying to sip a dash juice and I didn't have time at any point during the fight to sip the dash juice. Like it was just constant, relentless, jumping at you, slashing at you, throwing things at you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think when people get to those, they'll probably start struggling, and that's still low rank.
Sure. Yeah.
Those monsters.
Yeah, I think in general though they wanted to make the village more approachable for most people because
100%.
like you can definitely get discouraged with this game if you're getting spanked hard. Then you're like, well, I don't want to play this. I just keep dying, keep getting carded constantly. So like, I think the village is a good ramp up to understand the skills better, to then go into the hub to have more challenging fights.
Yeah, you're totally right. The village is definitely not super difficult. It's you can get through pretty easily. But I that's why I kind of like the distinction that they've done because it's you're starting out Monster Hunter. Maybe you're trying a new weapon that you've never tried, or you're trying the series for the first time, and you're not just going to go in there and get absolutely annihilated.
Yeah, it's.
I like the layout of the village better than the village in Monster Hunter World too because it's it's big. It's just easier to get around. And it's easier for me to remember where specific vendors are.
Way easier. The world one was so confusing. It was like, here's
it took me forever.
Yeah, it's like, look at this intricate hub with all these little nooks and crannies. And you're like, where the hell is things? Jesus.
I know I got to talk to this specific vendor, and I have no idea where they are. And all the vendors kind of look the same. It's not like there's a sign above them that says, the potions vendor, like.
Yeah, they
this
made
one
it
seems
so
a little easier in that regard.
One little area you can get all your stuff done, which is nice because before you'd have to run down, buy some potions, and run all the way upstairs, go to the blacksmith. It was like, oh, okay.
Take the freaking lift up.
Take the lift up there, right? It's like, this is just, come on. Now they localized
and now you can
everything.
Also, through the menu, you can select to move around the village, and you can just teleport to like parts of the village.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another pro tip. I didn't know that.
You can also see if someone wants to talk to you because there's the area like the Buddy Plaza and stuff which you can't actively see. You have to go there. So if you look at the move around the village thing, it will have a little icon next to a place that people want to talk to you.
Yeah.
What did you guys name your pets?
Joey and Murr.
And there's 3.
Oh, I forgot about the owl. I was actually gonna name him something, and then I backed out, and then it just automatically named the Kahoot, and I was like,
can you change it?
I don't know. I haven't.
I think you can. You can actually.
Okay, I haven't even interacted with the owl since.
Oh, okay. I think it's just the fuck with shit. Like
it's like the Poogie.
Yeah, you can kind of like you see something that's like kind of interesting. You kind of like you call your owl and then send your owl to go investigate it, and it'll kind of like cause interactions in the world.
Yeah. So this is an example of me completely ignoring a tutorial that I have not interacted with at all in the game, and it hasn't impacted my experience. I'm still having a great time.
It's very cute, and it adds a lot of kind of flavor to you.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Game. That's cool.
I named so my Palico is Belias, which is Bella mixed with Tobias. So always will be Belias. And creating it was easy because I just went and selected one of the like default things, and it's almost the exact patterns that Tobias has. So I was like, sure, that's great. Ginger pattern, great. And then I called the dog Toga because that is the dad in Inuyasha, and my character's name is named after a yokai, so it made sense.
Bless you.
And then the owl, which may give Tefty PTSD, is Tatari Mokke, which is the owl from Neo.
Oh, that owl.
I was like, well, clearly I have to name it after the owl from Neo too.
That's good. That's a good name.
I did all the human name things. I did Bruce for the Calico. I did Finn after Finn from the Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
For the dog. That's also my dog's name. I just named my dog after him, and I figured I'd name my in-game dog after him too, because I really like that character in the new Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
And then I named the owl Simon just because I thought it was a good name for an owl.
It's like Simon says. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Nice.
Anything else you want to say about Monster Hunter before we move on?
It's just full of happiness. Fluffy Dongo Bunny song. Amazing. Fills me with joy. Even selecting the food is
Yeah.
amazing. And they bring out the exact thing you selected. I enjoy that.
Yeah.
It's just
I
there's
really
so much
enjoy
charm. Whimsical charm. It's very rare that any media comes out where the whole way I'm just laughing and giggling and smiling and just so happy. And Rise is just like down on that
that. Mhm.
even more so.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything like that since, I don't know, The Walking Dead season 2, maybe.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, especially if you already know you like Monster Hunter with Monster Hunter World.
No
This is
brainer.
a slam dunk, no brainer. With the only caveat, like if you just got sick of it after a while, like you might, it is very similar, right? It's just on the Switch and it's got some new moves.
Yeah, I mean, if you're already getting sick of World, then you might be like, I don't know. But I mean, it does have enough newness to warrant the play.
Yeah. There's a lot of new monsters that weren't in World, like especially if World was your first Monster Hunter, you're gonna have a lot of new stuff.
Yeah. All new locations, Wirebug, Palamutes to ride around. Like the Palamute and the Wirebug stuff is just a complete game changer from the pace of what World was. So
it really speeds it up.
Yeah, that could be a huge deciding factor for someone to really want to stick with this Monster Hunter.
Also, you can give your pets abilities. Like you can actually switch out their abilities as they level up. They get new abilities. They get new weapons. So you can have like different weapons for each of especially the dog. The dog can have a ton of weapons. You can have them use an umbrella as a weapon. That's amazing. It's the best thing.
You can also tell them what type of attack patterns and how they approach monsters. Like if they stick with you mostly, or if they attack anything or attack the large one first. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I wanted to take a second to talk about Narita Boy. This is a game that I talked about a couple of months ago when the demo came out. It's kind of like this, like a retro-esque side-scrolling. I don't want to call it a Metroidvania, but it has a little bit of that to it. It's a very highly stylized game with some pretty slick combat, a really kind of trippy story, and possibly one of my favorite soundtracks that I've heard in several years now. This is one of the few games that I'm going to go out and actually obtain the soundtrack on its own. It comes out tomorrow. I'm really excited about it. And it comes out in Game Pass as well for PC and Xbox. So if you have Game Pass Ultimate or Game Pass on either one of those platforms, it's free to play. And I think this game, even if you're turned off by the look of it, like in the trailer, give it a shot. I mean, it's free.
The look of it turns
really
me on,
fun.
I gotta say.
Oh, there you go.
Not all.
It's got some really cool stuff in it. I'm excited about this one. I'll be talking about it a ton more next week because it's only like a 7-hour game too, so you can get through this one pretty quick.
With it being on Game Pass, I just want to download it.
Some earlier reviews have already come out and they're glowing about it.
Cool. It looked really cool when you told us about it, and I looked it up. I was like, this just looks so stylish. I love what they've done with it. So I would definitely love to check it out. It's gonna be hard to check it out right away because we got Monster Hunter and then Outriders is out in a few days.
Couple days, yeah.
But I want to check it out.
Yeah, for me, this is of the three. This is just the game I'm looking forward to the most.
Nice.
I'm hoping it comes to the Switch though. Like it just seems like it'd be a perfect Switch game. So I'm hoping it comes to the Switch. I'd really like to see it come there.
Mm-hmm. Switch is a great console for those types of games. Are you?
Yeah, it really is.
Are you planning on playing Outriders, Briar?
I don't know. The demo was just like kind of okay to me. So it really depends. I'll make a decision day of. I'm not highly anticipating it by any means.
Yeah. I'm excited for the Diablo-esque loot.
Yes.
The game has.
That's what gets me going with it. Like it's looking like they could potentially have done a really good job with loot. Of course, we don't know yet, but everything I'm seeing is looking good. And Endgame, the fact that they've talked about it and we know what that is looking good. So that's what gets me excited to get into it and get to the Endgame stuff and make builds. Because the loot is really intriguing.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. I definitely plan on playing it. I don't know how hard I'm going to go day one or the first week, because Monster Hunter and just other stuff going on. But like, I'm excited to play it and see what the end game is going to look like.
Yeah.
Did you guys happen to see the patch notes for Cyberpunk?
I did, and I first saw this from a tweet on Twitter. It was from Paul Tassi, and when you open it, it's just like the full thing, so you can't read any of it. It's just to show you how incredibly long it is. But that didn't
Watts,
really
you
drive
volunteered
home.
to do a full dramatic reading of them.
Yes, yeah.
Starting now, let's go.
Even seeing that picture did not really tell me how long it is. So I went to the website where it actually has the patch notes, and this really drove home how big this patch is, because you just scroll for hours. It's a big patch.
Yeah, I'm tempted to like just drop the document into like a regular word processor, just see how many pages it is, because I would assume it's like 10 or so pages. It's very long. It is extremely detailed though, so it's like they go into like each thing they fixed individually, and they fixed a lot of like very specific things in quests, and it's like it's just a ton of minutia. It is there, and then there's also like PC specific stuff, console specific stuff, just a ton of like very intricately detailed
like
small
like
fixes.
this one, Briar, where it's talking about specifics. Fixed an issue where dodging right after the Karen Zikov cyberware effect ended resulted in pushing V a great distance forward. It's it's like every little bug, every little thing that wasn't quite right, they have in here. Cat food needed to adopt nibbles can now be bought at several food shops.
Thank goodness. What was Nibbles gonna do?
Yeah. You starve. Yeah, it's really detailed. I mean, I'm never going to interact with this stuff. Like, my time with Cyberpunk is pretty much done unless they come out with DLC, right? Yeah. But if they do come out with DLC, I'll be glad that all this stuff is fixed. It's the sad thing about a big patches for a game that came out broken is that, the Cyberpunk's day in the sun is pretty much over, right? It's like,
yes,
unless it has like kind of like a Witcher 3-esque afterlife, where it just keeps gaining in popularity over time. But I don't know, man. The public perception on Cyberpunk is so poor.
Yeah, Witcher 3 didn't have the same like calamity that happened, the same PR like fiasco with the whole situation. Yeah. Like, it's going to be an uphill battle to recover from that. I mean, I'm happy that they're fixing it, because it'll be nice that it's in a playable state for most people. But yeah, I don't know. It's going to take
hopefully
some
it's at least a
DLC.
Yeah, hopefully it's at least a make good for people who bought it and found it unplayable.
Yeah,
like at launch, maybe like sometime this year, because they're going to have another 1.3 patch after this that they've already announced. I think coming out summer or fall. I can't remember. So I know that's on the way too. But I think they need to add content to this game as well. Like, it's not about just fixing what's there, but actually fleshing it out. I think that there needs to be some of that to really make good on the promises of this game.
Like the flexibility of the open world.
Yeah.
Is the one, I think the 1.3 patch is what is going to bring next gen, right? Like Series X and PS5.
Oh, really? Okay, that'll be interesting.
I could be wrong.
I mean, I do have a copy of the next gen version, kind of. Because I bought the Xbox version.
You have the Xbox version on the Sparty box.
I could play on the Sparty box.
That was
actually
stream.
Super fun. That game was so broken on like a base Xbox One. It looked so bad. It was like crazy how I can't believe a game got released looking like that.
That's crazy.
And then they came out and said, well, our internal testing didn't see any of these problems. Like,
what a load of crap. They just didn't listen. Yeah.
Before we finish, I know Cam in chat wanted us to talk about this. So I'm just going to go back to Monster Hunter real quick. There's a monster called Kezu. And Kazoo, yes. Yes.
Kazoos.
And he is blind. So
Aw.
he doesn't have a theme song. When you're fighting him, it's dead silent. And apparently the reason for that is because a monster's theme starts playing after they see you. So because he can't see, he has no theme song.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
That's sad.
Yeah, that's kind of depressing.
It's a little sad.
I don't think I want to kill that monster.
You know what makes this will make you happier? The outfit for the Palico is like a Silent Hill nurse with a syringe for a weapon.
That does
So.
make me happier.
Oh,
Can my Palico now give me a shot for the virus?
maybe.
Does it have the
got a
Johnson &
syringe.
Johnson or the
Gotta have
like
that J&J.
which version of the
I don't know which type Kazu keeps in his body.
Speaking of random stuff, I love that little animation of when your Palico makes the plants the health pot.
Yes.
Is walking around watering it, make a little sound effect. It's absolutely adorable.
The animations in this game again add to like the whimsical happiness. Like every little thing, little detail that they do, you're just like, oh well, that's adorable.
That's adorbs. You just make a little health pod right there, and it's a plant that you're watering. Wow. Yeah, it's pretty great.
That's great.
Yeah. You got to imagine they had a monster of a budget for this game, right? For Monster Hunter. They must have. After how well the world's sold, like the budget must have just been outrageous. Like go nuts because we know this thing's going to sell.
I wonder if this one would, or if they just would put all like most of the budget towards the next like big Monster Hunter release, because this is technically done by the B team. B team.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the world was done by the main team for it. So.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's strange. Like the other part of that is the fact that there's going to be a PC version a year later, sometime in early 2022. Which, if they knew how interested the population is in this game and how like excited, you'd think that they'd want to have those things synced up for releases.
So initially this was going to be just a purely portable version of Monster Hunter. And then because of the popularity and people being like, oh, I'd really like to play it on PC, they're like, all right, okay, we'll do that. But it was supposed to be just Switch exclusive forever. Kind of like how Resident Evil Village was only going to be on next gen. And then they were like, well, okay, we figured out a way to make it work on last gen too.
Interesting.
So it's kind of a similar thing.
Do you think there's going to be an Iceborne expansion then next year, or the same level?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Because they're obviously supporting it with the free updates. We have an update coming in April with a new monster.
Awesome.
So I would assume so.
Yeah, like a G rank, master rank that comes with a
definitely
Iceborne level expansion. Yeah.
I wonder if they'll do it that way or they'll do it the old school way that they used to do it, where they'd release like a whole new game that had the G rank in it. Like a Monster Hunter Rise Ultimate or something.
Something about that I just don't like. I want my like character.
Well, that's the Capcom way.
Yeah, I'd rather buy a $40 expansion.
Do you like Street Fighter? Do you like Street Fighter 4 Ultimate? Do you like Street Fighter 4 Ultimate Arcade Edition? Do you like?
Yeah, it's a great game. We know it's getting support. I'm sure they'll keep supporting it. It's so Monster Hunter with what they did with World really just kind of jetted it into everyone knowing what Monster Hunter is for the most part.
Yeah.
It just exploded. So I think they'll support this. And G rank is definitely going to happen. It just depends how they end up doing everything, I suppose.
There's got to be like hipster Monster Hunter fans, right? Like I liked it when it was totally inaccessible.
When you had to use the paintball mechanic.
Yeah.
I'm sure they exist. The Monster Hunter community is overall really nice compared to other communities I've experienced.
Surprisingly nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Considering that these types of games tend to bring like, why aren't you using this, and this because it's the best thing? But with the Monster Hunter community, it's like, we like flying around and doing cool anime stuff. So just do that. Is it the best thing to do for every monster? Probably not. Probably gonna die trying to do some cool stuff, but it's fun. So yeah, they seem,
I wonder if it has to
they
do
seem
with
really
that
nice.
like whimsical nature of it.
Maybe.
All the sweat lords are over playing Dark Souls, so all the anime weebs get to have their fun stuff in Monster Hunter and be nice to each other.
Yeah, maybe. Because it does have like, it's a very happy game. It's a very lighthearted, silly, like bombastic game.
Yeah, it's fun to play.
Yeah. It's funny too because like it almost doesn't fit in like a comedic way with what you're doing, like how lighthearted it is.
Yeah,
Just
I
going
know.
out there and taking out like these enormous dragons with fire breathing and poison, and they're slashing you to death.
I'm so glad they do it because it offsets it perfectly, right? You're like, oh, it's
It does.
happy. Because otherwise, I might be like, if it's like it looks very real and there's blood and it's
Yeah,
I don't know if I don't want to hunt.
I was making a joke about that, about like you have to have the bunny dango animation to offset all the depopulation that you're doing from killing all these monsters. Being like, all right, now let's go kill this exotic beast and carve it. Like, isn't that rare? Oh well. By the way, I exclusively kill. I don't capture.
I was in your stream when you were explaining that because people were like, Tefty, you're gonna want to capture because plates are really rare and
Every
capture gives
single
you more
time.
material.
Every
And
single
Tefty's
time.
like, listen, I only kill. I
these
kill
are
and
cruel.
carve.
That is the only thing with streaming Monster Hunter. There, the backseating usually comes down to, well, why aren't you capturing? I'm like, because I don't want to. But you should. You'll get more stuff. No, I want to kill the monster. It's more satisfying. But yeah,
I always do the thing where it's like I will always kill them the first time. The first time I fight them, I'm always going to kill them. If I need a plate and I've been farming for 1 billion years, I'm going to capture so I can get that damn plate. Like I got a Zinogre plate. I needed a plate to make the chess piece and I captured him and I got it. So I was like, all right, fine.
Yeah, if it comes down to a specific need, you know, or the people
Or
who
if
are
I'm
with
about
me.
to die.
There you go. Usually it's the people with me try to capture before I'm going to try to kill it, you know, so that happens too. Anyways, I think that's the show, right?
I think that's it. Next week, I'm sure Eric's will talk to us about Monster Hunter. By then, we might have hit the end game stuff, maybe. So we could maybe talk about end game because we haven't been able to. This is more like a first impression.
Yep.
All that good stuff. And also Outriders, I'm sure we'll be discussing as well.
Yeah. I don't know how deep I'm going to be in Outriders by next week. Tough to
That's
say.
fine.
Yeah. It's
We
probably
can
going to
have
be
just
first
like
impressions.
Yeah, like what's the full release like?
Yeah.
What are the different locales like? Because we only had a very boring locale in the demo.
That was pretty boring. Yeah. Just
It's
mud.
just a desert.
Yeah.
So I would love to give opinions on like the forest and the rainforest, and all that stuff.
Yep. And if you got Game Pass,
apologies to Balan Wonderworld. We did have every intention of talking about that game, which just came out on Friday as well. And we'll have to talk about it next week, I guess. Monster Hunter just kind of preempted it.
What game?
You guys don't even know what that game is, do you?
I'm like
staring at me like, what game?
You just make this up?
No, it's a real game. Look it up.
What is it called?
Again? Balan Wonderworld.
Oh wait, I think I saw Balan. No, I've definitely seen this advertised. I just didn't realize the name.
Didn't realize Briar's a hardcore fan.
It's a action platformer.
The hardest, of course.
Briar's a diehard for Balan Wonderwall or whatever it is.
There's an avocado pit as the core of my hardcore. It is hard.
I did see this though, and visually it looks really cool visually. So I was interested in it because it just looks really good.
Cool. Beautiful
game.
All right. Well, maybe Briar will be able to tell us about it next week.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
All right. That is episode number 87 of SideQuest. Thank you very much for hanging out, watching, listening. Shout out to our Patreon members and our Twitch subs for supporting the shows. And Watts, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Just look for Miss 5000 Watts. I will be using a bow for
bowing up
forever now. I think this is me.
You're not going to try other weapons?
I can't. I just ever since getting that wire bug where I fly in the air and rain down arrows, it's too cool, and I can KO them, which makes me feel powerful.
Too, yeah.
And I can dodge attacks. I can dodge attacks in a cool way.
Briar.
You can find me. I just got today a delivery of Teflon arcade stick parts and some new ball tops.
New balls.
One's
you can put those on your Crocs.
Steel Oh,
Yeah, those are croc balls.
I clack them. One's
That
made out of
against
stainless
POS.
steel. One's like a gunmetal. Those will look cool.
Yeah.
Not on my Crocs though, because I've got class, motherfuckers.
Classy Crocs.
We should reach out to Crocs, and Brian can do his own line of classy Crocs by Brian
Oh my
Rabbit.
god! Like,
White tie, tuxedo Crocs.
black ones with like a white top, like those old like tuxedo shoes.
Yes.
Yep. Perfect. Yeah. I am
My
Tefty
loafers are
Teft.
getting worn out. I gotta get a new set.
I'm Tefty Teft. You can talk to me at Teft, and I will be streaming Monster Hunter more, and probably Outriders as well. And you can look up Tefty Teft, twitch.tv/Tefty Teft if you want to see that stuff. And yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you soon for another episode of Stuff and Things.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.